Hey everyone, my name's Chris Lambert. On this channel, we talk Kanye West, and here we saw this big headline out of nowhere today. Exclusive, Ye has started working on Donda 2, says Steven Victor. Oh my goodness, what does this mean? You know, there's some hype, but also, I think long-term Kanye fans, and we're going to get into this with the last tab, know a little better at this point to trust the announcement right after an album. Like the first next album announcement is always a little bit of a trap. But we're going to dive into what this article says, who Steven Victor is, and then look at what might be going on this album, as well as previous announced Kanye albums. So diving in, you can see this article by Joe Price, and it's exclusive. And this is it. It's really like, I opened it, I was like, I don't know what I expected, but you can see here, it's after delivering his 10th studio album, Donda, last year. 10th studio album, should be a comma, Donda last year, Ye has already begun creating the follow-up. Ye has started working on his new masterpiece, Donda 2, Steven Victor exclusively told Complex. That's it. Not more info about like, oh yeah, you know, he's been working on it, we're looking forward to it, this is what's happening, this was just like, he started working on it, which like, cool. Okay. I don't know how hyped we should be, how much we should be in album watch mode, you know? I'm going to go out on a limb and say not very much in album watch mode, but first, Steven Victor, he's the COO, he's the founder and CEO of Victor Victor Worldwide, the COO of Good Music, which is kind of a big deal, and SVP and A&R at Universal Music Group. He formerly served as EVP of A&R at Def Jam. So works with Kanye, Pusha, The Dream. He's managed The Dream, Designer, Tyga, Cash Money. You can see that current artists on his roster, Ski Mask, Pop Smoke, Wyland, and the other three. So we have like a little bit of info about Victor, and there was this article that came out just a couple weeks ago, also on Complex. Steven Victor looks back on Pusha T's initial reaction to Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy creative process. So this was kind of cool. Victor went on, Noah Callahan Bever's Idea Generation show. Noah is the former editor-in-chief of Complex, and they were just talking about really like Pusha T's solo run, transferring out of Clips into this like solo career, and the fact that at this point, like Ye and Pusha weren't close necessarily, right? So My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was the first time that they were working together like closely. Ye had Victor and Pusha come out to Hawaii, and apparently Pusha didn't like the process because there was so much downtime. We know how long it takes Ye to release an album, and it's just funny thinking about how in 2021 Pusha's like, album's coming, it's gonna drop, it's Ye and Pharrell, and now producing, right? And now here we are like a year later, and there's still like no update on Pusha's album. So he kind of, you know, I think adopted the Ye process a little bit, but it seemed like at the time Pusha was very much into this idea of like, yo, when you work and you get it done and you put it out. So Ye taking like a couple weeks and nothing happening, like barely any music creation, was really frustrating him. So he just like bounced. And when Ye wanted them to come back, he was just like, no. So Victor actually ended up going out to Hawaii and ran into Kanye. So he tells the story. He's like, so Pusha's back in like mainland stateside, and Victor's out in Hawaii, and he goes, I land, I go to sleep, I wake up, and I realize that I forgot my toothbrush. So by this time, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm walking across the street, and there's a car like flying down the road. And I'm like, yo, who's this? And then I'm like, oh, that's Kanye's car. And then the car like brakes and it starts reversing. I'm like, no way, this is the dude, right? He backs up and he's like, oh, hey, man, where are you going? I'm like, back to my room. He's like, where's Pusha? So like, Ye is just like, is Pusha here? Is Pusha here? And Pusha wasn't. So Victor covers for him, right? And it's just like, oh, he missed the flight. He's sick. He'll be down though tomorrow. Don't worry. And Pusha came down, and that's what started like really the working relationship that ended up with Pusha having the two moments of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, ending up on the Good Music roster, and now being president of Good Music, which is like kind of legendary. So Victor played a big role in that. But one of the things that we might see on Donda 2, you know, it's so early to speculate. I feel a little dirty even like speculating, because I know that it's not going to be worth much in the long run, but Let Go was a song that Ye mentioned during the Drink Champs interview that was going to be on Donda Deluxe, and then was nowhere to be seen on Donda Deluxe, which either means the song got scrapped, which Ye scraps a lot of music, or he's saving it for something. So now that we have this announcement of Donda 2 is being worked on, you have to wonder if Let Go is this song that kind of was going to be put on the deluxe, and they're like, hey, why don't we just use this for the next thing? So that might be where this song is right now. It's being finalized for Donda 2, and it's in that running. You can see here a little information on it. Let Go is an unreleased track from Kanye West with Atlanta rapper and singer BK the Ruler. Okay, took me a second. Serving as a featured artist. The track was recorded in late May during the sessions for Spirits Over the Horizon, a now scrapped project that eventually evolved into Donda, which is still something I don't know how much info we should buy in. I know there was insiders like saying that there was initially this Spirits Over the Horizon project, had different songs. A lot of them got scrapped. You know, he went back to some of the 2020 Donda songs, and that's why we ended up getting like the Donda that we ended up getting. But Spirits Over the Horizon was this almost project, but I still haven't, to my knowledge, seen anybody that's like in Ye's camp officially confirm that Spirits Over the Horizon was the title, that it was a separate project from Donda, or like a separate project from 2020 Donda, right? That he had kind of kicked to the side, or he kicked the Donda concept to the side, started going with that before returning to Donda. So I'm very curious to hear more about this from not just like a leaker community source, but like someone in Ye's camp that's willing to go on record and talk about it a little more. But that's some wishful thinking. Anyway, the track was first previewed on June 1st by a person who was near the Pio Pico Art Gallery in Los Angeles, California, which served as a makeshift studio for West to work on the album at the time. Is that the Green Tile Studio? I think so. But that particular snippet was not made publicly available until August 12th, and it was not previewed until October 21st. The track's name was confirmed on July 21st when it was included on an early track list for Donda that was posted on West's Instagram account during his temporary residency at Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, Georgia. The track, along with its earlier demo version, was leaked on October 24th, 2021. So in November, Kanye claimed that the track would be included on Donda Deluxe. However, the song was never included in the release. It is currently unknown whether the track will ever see an official release. So that then brings us to all 10 of Kanye West's unreleased albums ranked, which Kanye has a knack for announcing albums and then not releasing them. And almost always, it's the album immediately following something that just came out, right? So The Life of Pablo drops, he announced Grafx 16. That never comes out. Yeezus drops, he announces Yeezus 2. That doesn't come out. And then it was So Help Me God. That doesn't come out. You go from Ye and Kids See Ghosts to Yandhi, and Yandhi doesn't come out. So looking at Wolves wasn't like the immediate follow-up to Yeezus announcement, but Wolves was another one that got announced and then never came out, or was being worked on and never came out. Yeezus 2, which I don't think it ever had an official name like that, but Kanye at the end of 2013 was saying that they're already working on the next album, which people were thinking was going to be Yeezus 2, especially after Rubens like mentioned that they had enough material for a Yeezus 2. And then that evolved into So Help Me God, and that was the first official name that we heard. And then that, of course, got scrapped. Cruel Winter, yeah, right. Grafx 16 was the first one after The Life of Pablo. Love Everyone was the first one, I guess, after Grafx 16. We never got that. Kanye, after his hospitalization, took 2017 off, came back, announced he was going to drop albums in July, and then announced that the title was going to be Love Everyone. And then, of course, that evolved into Ye after the TMZ interview that did not go well. And then we had Yandhi, right, of course. So Help Me God, which we've already mentioned. The College Dropout original version. Yeah, he had announced College Dropout and then kept delaying it. Good Ass Job. He had initially talked about that as being the follow-up to Graduation, and that never saw the light of day. And then Watch the Throne 2, of course, has been talked about on and off ever since the making of Watch the Throne 1. So Yeah, and then Justin LeBoy, of course, announced that that was going to be an album coming out by the end of 2021, and that didn't happen, which I think might have just been wishful thinking on his part after being in the room with Ye and Jay during the recording of Jail. So he at least has that on all of us. As much as people get mad about Justin LeBoy, he was in the room when Jay and Ye were making Jail. Crazy. But I would take the Donda 2 announcement with a grain of salt. One of the things that I've talked about on this channel in the past, that we've talked about on the podcast, is that Ye is always working on music. There's one thing that we've known over his 20-year career is that he's always working on music. The question is he going to be happy enough with what he's working on, or interested enough with what he's working on, or motivated enough by what's going on in his life to put all of it together into a cohesive project that he then releases into the world? Maybe, but we saw even with Jesus is King too, right? Like that gets announced. We know he has all these songs that he had worked on that didn't make Jesus is King. It seems like an easy slam dunk for him to kind of just finish up some of this stuff. We also know that Yurko, the engineer that was working on Donda, had talked about, as well as another engineer, talked about Kanye kind of going back to some unreleased songs. It was going to release something with those. So maybe that's one of the things they were thinking of. Like Ye's going at the Spirits Over the Horizon songs, some of these unreleased Jesus is King songs, Yandhi songs, and maybe reshaping them. And that might be what he's currently working on as Donda 2. Maybe it evolved a little bit from, hey, why don't we just throw some of these together, to, okay, I'm using this for a project. We'll see. I'm still skeptical that we'll get anything right away, because even when he announces things after a project, it seems like he still needs kind of a cool off period. It's been a minute since we've gotten something as like back to back as College Dropout and Late Registration, right? February of 2003. What was it? August of 2004, I think, was Late Registration. And then it was 2007 for Graduation, September, and then 808s and Heartbreak was November of 2008, so like a year and 2 months later, or a year and a month later. So I don't know if Ye's ever had like a quick 6-month turnaround with an album, unless you count Ye and Kids See Ghosts, which he had been working on Kids See Ghosts for like a year and a half. Or a year before the release. So I think it's going to be maybe a minute before we get something. Like even with this announcement, it might be 6 months before we hear anything else. But, you know, as information rolls in, we'll of course keep you updated with all the latest that is happening and give you some context and, you know, info beyond the headlines that only dedicated Ye fans will know, and that psychopaths will collate and put together into a YouTube video for you all to enjoy, hopefully, you know? So that's it for this video. Until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.